India and the Nordics have seen increased momentum under a mechanism called the India-Nordic Summit. The last summit happened in Denmark, and before that it happened in Stockholm. And similar momentum has been seen with the Baltic states. In fact, India has opened an embassy in Lithuania. And to talk more about the Nordics and the Baltics, with me is a high-profile panel with representation from the MEA, CII, and the Nordics and the Baltic states. Let me start with the introduction first. With me is Sanjay Verma, who is Secretary West and in the past has had various stints, including in Spain and Ethiopia. So welcome to WION. With me is the ambassador of Finland, Ambassador Kimmo, who has served in the past in Vietnam, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia as well. Ambassador of Denmark, who is perhaps one of the most popular ambassadors here in Delhi, who has served in the past in Japan and also in Delhi as well from 2010 to 2015. With me is the ambassador of Estonia, Ambassador Maria, who has in the past served in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as the DG in the administration department. We have also the DCMs, the DCM of Norway, the DCM Martina Ma'am. Welcome to WION. She has in the past served in Australia and at the NATO mission. With me is the DCM of Latvia, Ambassador Marks. He has served in Canada and again in the permanent mission of NATO. We have with me the DCM of Iceland, Ma'am Christine, and also the DCM of Sweden, Christian sir. Welcome to WION. And last but not the least, the DCM of Lithuania, Zymantas, who of course is serving in his first stint abroad, which makes him one of the youngest in the panel. So let's begin the entire panel with Sanjay sir. Sir, my first question to you, an obvious question is, how do you see this meeting, the meeting which is going to happen here in Delhi, the India-Nordic Baltic Conclave? How do you see or assess it transforming the relationship between India and these countries?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Siddhant. Namaste to all your viewers. Thank you for this opportunity as a curtain raiser to the second India-Nordic Baltic Business Conclave. This is the second edition. The first was in 2020 amidst the COVID crisis. So this is the first real physical format interaction. This is part of a larger diplomatic outreach to the world. As you may know that in recent years we have really increased our presence worldwide. We have over 200 diplomatic missions and posts, and people tend to know a lot about India's relations with Western Europe and the European Union, but the lesser known but probably as successful relationship is what India has with the Nordics and increasing with the Baltics. So in that context, despite all what that is happening in the world, the conflicts, the stresses of economy, etc., business must continue, work must continue. So this second business conclave will see the presence of several ministers and companies from the Nordics and Baltics. So we are trying to suggest that not only is business as usual between some very critical key players, our key partners, but for them to interface, get to know each other. The Indian economy is moving along at 6.5 to 7% growth. We have a heterogeneous palette of investment options. So this will add fresh momentum to that relationship.
So India looking to increase the elements in terms of how both sides can increase engagement. But let me now open the panel to the ambassadors and the DCM, starting with the ambassador of Denmark, Ambassador Freddy. Sir, India-Denmark relationship is seen as a textbook case of how relationship can have increased momentum. We have several areas of cooperation, including in dairy area as well. But we have seen how the Indian Prime Minister was in Denmark for the summit level meeting, and how your Prime Minister was here in Delhi as well. In fact, she was the first world leader, the head of government, to come to Delhi amidst the COVID pandemic. So how do you assess the relationship going forward between the two countries?
Thank you very much indeed, and namaste. It's great to be here. Of course, it goes without saying that India is an important player globally, regionally, and also economically. And for that reason, of course, we have built up a strategic tie with India. We have the Green Strategic Partnership. And that is about being relevant to each other. India, with 1.4 billion people, have to grow, have to change, have to transform, will come with our inspiration, and we also like to be inspired by India. So we are not here to teach nor to preach. We are here to really to work as good partners for a better future. And India for us is a strategic partner which can create a better future for the planet as a whole.
So moving to Finland now, sir, my question to you is on the startup front. Now, this is an element in which India has been doing a lot. We have seen the Indian Prime Minister talking about a lot on the Startup India program as well. Your country is also doing a lot as well. How do you see convergences between India and Finland in this specific sector?
Thank you. Yes, this is an interesting question because it's just one of the areas that we cover in our cooperation. We have digitalization, education, sustainability and innovation, for example. But innovation includes also the startup scheme, and we have had very good cooperation with the Indian startups, and we have, for example, mentored quite a few of them and shown them the Finnish startup scheme, the possibilities that Finnish cities have on offer, also financing possibilities, and overall whatever is needed for startups to develop and grow. So this is certainly one of very promising areas that we have good cooperation with.
Moving on to your neighbor, Estonia. Ma'am, my question to you is, in fact, before asking you a question, I'll start by saying when I think of Estonia, I think of a country which is highly digitized. This is a country doing very well in emerging technologies as well. In fact, an MOU was also signed between India and Estonia just last year when it comes to areas like artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. So how are you looking in this area, cooperation with New Delhi?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Yes, of course, ICT and artificial intelligence, these are the fields where Estonia has been rather strong during the last years. And with India, we have a lot of cooperation in both of those, plus also in cybersecurity. We have also a specific memorandum signed on cybersecurity issues. And regarding ICT, there is really a lot of cooperation already going on. So there are outcomes to this memorandum of understanding. There are many Indian officials who have been trained in ICT questions in Estonia. We have a company called E-Governance Academy. They are arranging specific trainings. And also regarding cybersecurity, there are joint cyber exercises. They have been taking place now in 2 years in a row, and I'm really hopeful that the third one is going to take place this year. There is an Estonian company again called Cybexer. We are always very happy to welcome more Indian officials and ICT experts in Tallinn in order to participate in those exercises. And one more field where there is more possibilities to cooperate in both fields is is the cooperation between maybe universities and different youth institutions to bring it even more on the grassroots level.
So several areas of cooperation. Moving on to Norway, to DCM, ma'am. Ma'am, marine resources are areas where Norway has been taking a lead on. In fact, in 2019, a dialogue started between the two countries, specifically on oceans. So if you can explain on that bit.
Yes, thank you so much, and namaste. Very happy to be here. It's true that the blue ocean economy is one of the main pillars between Norway and India. And in 2019, our then Prime Minister came to India and launched, together with Prime Minister Modi, the task force on blue economy. And that is a task force that really has a focused and action-oriented approach across the spectrum. And we actually, next week, we will have a meeting in that task force in connection with the Nordic Baltic Conclave. And there will be businesses, research institutions, partners that collaborate in the government sphere, across the board, and they will present results, and they will also explore further avenues for collaboration. Norway is a coastal state, and so is India, so we find common interests and really benefit from collaboration on the oceans.
Well, thank you, ma'am. My next question to DCM sir from Norway. My question is basically on how do you see the relationship going forward? Because we are, I believe, marking the 75 years of the relationship with Sweden this year. So what has been the ups of this relationship, and what do you think are the areas where both sides can cover?
Thank you, Siddhant, and let me start by mentioning how happy we are to meet in this format of India, Nordic, Baltic. The 5 Nordic countries have enjoyed extensive cooperation since the late 40s, and during the last 2-3 decades, this has been expanded also to form the Nordic Baltic Octet, which is in New Delhi complete. The Nordic Quintet is complete, and also the Nordic Baltic Octet is complete, and it gives us great pleasure to meet with India in this format. With regard to Sweden, indeed, we were early to establish diplomatic relations with India. First congratulatory letter was sent on the eve of independence from our Prime Minister to your Prime Minister. And in 1948, we established an embassy. Of course, we are not alone in this respect. Several countries celebrate 75 years of relations this year, but we are proud to be among those. We meet at a period in time where there is a momentum, which is great indeed. Trade between our countries are at record levels, and business collaboration and investments are at the heart of the India-Sweden relationship and has been for long. Both our countries strive towards making it easier in practice for innovators, startups, incubators, and investors to connect and collaborate. And at last count, 260 plus Swedish companies operate successfully in India, which is a big number for a country of 10 million. Investments from Sweden have created significant employment opportunities. We counted 220,000 Indians work directly for Swedish companies. Indirectly, it's almost 500,000. And likewise, my country would encourage Indian companies to explore the Swedish market even more. Sweden is known for its research and innovation, and has led successful startups such as Skype, Spotify, Truecaller, and King. And currently, some 65,000 Indians live in Sweden. So it's really a bridge-building exercise, which we are, as the embassy, very proud of being part of.
And Sweden was the first country to host the India-Nordic Summit as well, so essentially took a lead in that, and I believe the next will is in Norway. But moving to Latvia, to you, sir, I mean, what we have heard so far is focus on digitization, on how these countries can help India in its own flagship programs like Digital India and all. Your country has had an experience in e-governance, and India is doing at a very fast pace. In fact, just yesterday, the Indian External Affairs Minister, while addressing a diaspora in London, talked about the usage of Paytm here in India, which has gone a record now. So how do you see e-governance as a pillar of this relationship?
Thank you so much, Siddhant, for the question. And also, I'd like to reiterate what others have said. It's great to be together in this NBA format. I think that it's a sign of teamwork amongst our countries, and that teamwork is interesting for businesses. They like to see teamwork, and we have that also in the EU, Team Europe concept. And on your question about e-governance, yeah, I can buy a house, an apartment in Latvia using my digital signature. I would go along with what the Danish ambassador said, that I'd be careful about saying that we can inspire you with our wonderful e-governance. You may also be able to inspire us. But yeah, we have it. And in fact, at the end of May, we've been for 11 years organizing a conference. It's called Secure ID International, and we just sent out a note verbal requesting that various branches of the Indian government that are interested in e-governance, that they come and take part.
Moving to Iceland, renewable energy is an area where you are taking a lead on. India is also doing that. In fact, India has its own initiatives like International Solar Alliance. How do you see India's taking lead on these issues, and how Iceland can help India in terms of renewable energy?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And allow me to begin thanking the MEA and the CII for this ambitious event that will be held here in Delhi. The Icelandic focus will be on renewable energy, and we will also have a specific Icelandic showcase on green energy and also carbon capture. That will be our focus. We have now, like the Norwegian, a task force between Iceland and India, which is doing really well, and we have now 2 projects already here in India on geothermal energy. Mm-hmm. We work closely with ONGC and Oil India. That's a start for the renewable energy, and we will continue with that work for a very long time, I hope.
Last but not the least, again, Simantas, who is the DCM of Lithuania. Now, one of the biggest things which has happened in the relationship is opening of a mission in Lithuania, an Indian mission. So my simple question, how do you see India upping its diplomatic presence in your country?
Good afternoon, first of all, Siddhant, and everyone who is watching our show, our warm-up show prior to the Nordic Baltic India Business Conclave. So we are really happy to have the Indian presence in Lithuania, which was open just this year. So actually we have a lot of potential into our common collaboration, not only in cultural matters, not only because of our common linguistic roots, etc., but giving this foundation, we should step up and to amplify our economic ties. So Lithuania is really strong in several high-tech sectors, such as cybersecurity, biotech, fintech. This is why we are bringing a high-level delegation to the conclave in order to present what Lithuania has to offer for the Indian stakeholders, Indian counterparts, and we are really happy to have the Indian embassy in Vilnius, because well, for sure it will open the new avenues for our economic, cultural, political collaborations for sure.
So coming back to you again, Sanjay sir, if I were to ask you, what are the 4 pillars of the relationship between India and the Nordic plus the Baltic region? What will be the 4 pillars you will talk about, and how do you assess the relationship going forward? Because now we have an institutionalized mechanism, especially with the Nordics, that is the summit level mechanism, which is perhaps the second time that the Nordics are meeting in this format with any other country, barring the US, I believe. So how this specific mechanism is going to go in future? Is this a permanent feature now in the relationship?
Well, let me begin by addressing the issue of the format. I think over the last few years, what one sees worldwide, particularly with reference to India's engagement, is increasing engagement with what is called minilaterals or plurilaterals. So in that context, the India-Nordic relationship is a mature one. The framework has already met twice and is scheduled to meet in Oslo next year. The Nordic Baltic political organization or the platform is a very mature one. In fact, the Nordics probably taught the European Union a trick or two in sorting out migration, mobility, and the integration of the region before the European Union did. So in that context, we are very pleased that we have these arrangements. The NB8 can possibly become, with India, a stronger engagement, cutting across both security, foreign policy, political, and economic platforms. What brings us together is a democratic ethos, pluralism, sort of openness of societies. So in many ways, there are several commonalities. Distance is also shrinking between our two geographies. We have connectivity, direct connectivity to Helsinki and to Copenhagen. And now, when we talk about the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, somewhere that corridor is also going to bring our two regions even closer. So all in all, this is it's a positive relationship for both sides, and I can tell you the Indian Foreign Office takes a lot of pride in the wonderful relationship we have with the Nordics and Baltics, and thanks to the wonderful envoys here. These are very practical, deep thinking individuals who have nurtured this relationship at their own personal level.
I can say one thing, that it's easy to reach out to the Nordics here in Delhi. It's the easiest thing, I mean, as compared to the other envoys. But now going to the Denmark ambassador, Ambassador Freddy, you have seen India for a long time. You were in India in your previous stint starting from 2010. How do you place your bets on India? Today, India, as compared to 10 years ago, is the 5th largest economy. I'm asking this question just before the conclave because your words do set the agenda there. An additional question as well, the Prime Minister of the Faroe Islands are expected to travel to India as well. How do you see that visit as well?
Let me start by your last question. We are extremely happy that the Prime Minister of the Faroe Islands, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, is coming to India with a big business delegation. That is what this conclave is about. So we are very happy. He's very happy. And I think it will also be part of the extended discussion of how to take more into our relationship, the Arctic. And I know we'll be coming back to that. But extremely happy that India has reached out to other parts of the Kingdom of Denmark. As to your first question, basically, I don't see any limits to what India can become. India has moved over so many years. Of course, you will see ups and downs. Nothing is linear in India. But if you look into it with 1.4 billion, I'm always keeping the view that whatever you see in India, you have to multiply that by 1.4 billion. So if even the smallest change when it comes, for instance, to drinking water, a small drop of water being saved, if you multiply that with 1.4 billion, then you see the scale of India. And I also hold this very strong view that if we're going to solve the climate issues, if we're going to deliver on the SDGs, we have to secure that India is part of that equation. That does not mean that I have to tell India what to do. That's not our kind of view. We like to engage constructively with India because in our part of the world, technology is really high-tech. It's also extremely costly. And India has taught us really to look into affordability, resilience, and I think there you find answers that will be relevant for all of us, but also the planet as such. So no limits to what India can become. Of course, it's up to India how India would like to develop, but we will certainly be a source of inspiration. We are happy with that.
A source of inspiration and a lot of convergences. Similar question to the ambassador of Finland. How do you see India as an investment destination? Do you see any issues, any problems, or do you see this to be the next big place to invest here in Asia?
Well, yes, indeed, to be short. And I think it's already incredible how India itself has contributed about 16% of the global growth. So that's amazing number. And I think also what lies ahead is certainly very, very interesting for Finnish companies. We have a good number of them already here in India, investing here, doing business. And also what we see as very important is to develop deeper cooperation in several sectors, ranging from atmospheric sciences to digitalization, 6G, quantum computing, all kinds of issues where we do have a mutually beneficial expertise available. And I truly believe that we have a lot to contribute to each other's well-being. Also, I think what offers great possibilities, for example, for Finnish companies are the Indian system integrators, which operate globally. And I think that sort of companies can offer significant potential for smaller Finnish companies to grow and to reach global markets. So really, I think the potential is huge.
To the ambassador of Estonia, ma'am, with investments, especially investments going through routes which are very digital in nature, there comes risk as well, the cyber security risk. Now, your country, as we talked about earlier, is a leader in terms of digitization and cyber security as well. I believe there was a major attack in 2008 on your country. It was a cyber attack. So essentially, what can you give to India in terms of cyber security in this specific sector which involves the transfer of money?
Cybersecurity as such is in our today's world very, very important. It's of course on the political level and on the defense sector, but it goes down to the really people's everyday activities. So if you start from there, it's all kind of trainings really, how you behave in the cyber room, what kind of decisions you make, what kind of possibilities you use. And if you move from there to the higher level or already to the government systems, then of course it's mainly about training. You have to be prepared. You have to know if you are installing the new systems, if you are introducing the new systems, then you have to be really careful what kind of possibilities the unwelcome guests might have in these systems. And it's of course not only about saying how you should do those things, it's about exchanging information between our two countries, because I believe also that we have a lot to learn also from Indian colleagues. And this is what is happening on our common cyber exercises, which we have been organizing now during the last years.
Moving on to the DCM of Norway, ma'am. My question to you is, we all now know it's kind of an open secret that you're going to host the 3rd edition of the India Nordic Summit. Now, it's too early to talk about the agenda. We're going through an election cycle very soon as well, but it will be happening. The Indian Prime Minister is expected to travel as well as he has traveled in past summits. So what do you think will be the key focus area? What are the agenda points that Norway is keen to put on the table this time around?
Yes, it's true. We are very honored to be hosting that next India Nordic Summit. It is an established format, a format that we really appreciate very much. The Nordics are amongst the most integrated regions in the world, and we have a lot in common when it comes to technology, innovation, especially in the green transition. We really do have a lot to offer, and we saw from the last summit that our prime ministers, they committed to continue to collaborate on particularly the green transition. And I think, like many have mentioned before, if the world is to succeed with its climate ambitions, then it's really important for everyone that India succeeds. And hopefully this summit will contribute to moving that agenda forward.
Similar question to you, sir, DCM of Latvia. How do you see India's presence in the Arctic? And also one of your personal experience, because one of your videos went viral, your dancing video at Holi. So how do you see India as a country? It looks like you're, like most of the ambassadors are in love with India. So if you can talk about a certain personal experience as well.
Very provocative question. Let me start with Holi. Recently I was talking with a colleague and she said that in her office there's a principle that, you know, basically you should, if you're not planning to be visible when you go outside the office, maybe you should stay in the office. And so, I don't know, if I'm at Holi or if I'm in Ayodhya, like I was on Saturday, I want to be lighting diyas, I want to be dancing trying to dance as well as people who have been doing it for many years, and it's a privilege. On what was the first question? Arctic, yeah, naturally, India is starting to reach out. We would like to see, I hope that I'm not just speaking on behalf of Latvia, India reaching everywhere. We also hope that India will, by the way, open an embassy in Riga, founded in 1201. And I think we have good scientists. I think that when I think of the Arctic, I think of the route that's opening up above Russia. We have to think about that, and also protecting the Arctic. And I hope that India will be involved. Just very quickly, to repeat something that's been said, I think we need India to, together with us on SDGs. I keep seeing there's this one family, one planet, but our planet is also kind of a box. We're hemmed in, and we need the brightest minds in India and Europe working to think out of the box.
My question to the DCM of Iceland, ma'am. Now, Iceland is a country which looks like a country which is far away, but how do common people in your country think about India? India is a large democracy, it's the most populated country. So if you can give us the view from the ground of the thought about India, I believe yoga is quite popular in your country, and I believe your Prime Minister used to do yoga, if you can correct me on that. Additionally, do you plan to get more Bollywood movies on the ground in your country to be to film there in Iceland, given the breathtaking beauty of your country?
I certainly hope so, because I am technically famous in India just for being from Iceland. And also not just yoga, which is very popular in Iceland, and thanks to the Indian embassy in Reykjavik, that they have a yoga teacher there, which is open to the public, yoga classes. Hopefully, I might be telling you a secret. One of these days, in the near future, the National Sport Association is accepting cricket into our mix of sports in Iceland. And we now have 5 cricket teams. One is all Indians who work in the pharmaceutical business in Iceland. So there's a lot of similarities to our cultures. And I think Icelandic people appreciate that very much. And also Indian tourists are highly valued in Iceland. They come there, they love it. Indian tourists are year-round tourists, so they want to come when it's cold and snowy and dark. They don't care. They love the nature.
Pretty interesting to know Iceland cricket team, and of course we are in a season of World Cup here in India. But passing on the last question again to the DCM of Lithuania. Generally, if you can put briefly on issues like investment, India's presence in the Arctic, and also the connect between the two sides, as most ambassadors and DCMs have mentioned about the presence of the Indian community. So if you can give a detail, are there any Indians in Lithuania and in which field they're working?
Right, so talking about the diaspora, Indian diaspora in Lithuania, so we have about 1,000 Indian students studying in the Lithuanian universities, mostly in high-tech engineering, medical studies, and those high valued studies, you know. So actually, this is a good point that you mentioned about people-to-people ties, which will be enabled more when the Indian embassy in Lithuania is opened, because as I mentioned previously, Lithuania and India, we share many commonalities in cultural domain. So especially in 2025, I just want to briefly announce that we will celebrate the 400th anniversary of the first Lithuanian who landed in India. So for this occasion, we are planning a series of cultural events about that and around that also. So people-to-people ties will be involved into that cultural domain as well. So right.
To Secretary Sanjay sir, sir, we have seen the world going through increased geopolitical tensions. There are conflicts in Europe, in West Asia. We are also calling for reforms of the multilateral institutions. UNSC is something that the Indian side has mentioned several times now. So how do these countries work with India? Are there any convergences? Do they back us at the UNSC? Do they vote along with us or against us or something like that? If you can talk about the global geopolitics, India, Nordics and the Baltics.
Well, Siddhant, it's a mature relationship, and amongst all our partners in the West, and I keep stressing this point, is that the sense we get in our interaction with the respective foreign offices is that they understand the complexities of India, the diversities, and a unique nation-building process, in sort of promoting the democratic ethos. So they understand that complexity. It's not just about business, it's about having an acute acumen into the Indian reality. In that context, the other reality, larger reality of multilateral reform is a pressing question. If you sort of trace out the speeches at the UNGA this year, there were probably about 80 countries which mentioned that the global multilateral system had to be reformed. The Nordics and Baltics also say that. They are generally supportive of the change in architecture of the international organization, not just the UN system, probably the global financial system as well. So they are on the same page. There's one thing to offer bilateral support, etc., and the other is to be part of the larger global momentum to change the international system. We hope that in the days to come, hopefully days, not years or decades, that there will be a shift in the structure reflecting 2023 rather than reflecting the world of 1940s. When there were 55 members of the UN system when it was formed, 10% of them were permanent members. Today you have close to 200, but you still have 5 permanent members. So it's archaic, it's anachronistic, it just doesn't work. But from our friends in the Nordic and Baltics, they see, they recognize, they share, they articulate that the system needs to change.
And any bilateral engagements planned on the sidelines of this conclave which is going to happen?
I think it's an unsaid protocol that whenever we have multilateral engagements, it goes without saying that there will be bilateral meetings, there will be pull-asides. We like to exploit every minute we have with our foreign guests, and this time it won't be any different. On the Arctic, if I may just come in this hyper-connected world today, what stays in the Arctic, I mean, what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay there. I mean, you can't get cold comfort from the fact that as the DCM of Sweden was mentioning, the butterfly entropy effect of weather pattern changing because of the Arctic, that is a given. The other is the possibility of the melting ice caps there making possible what is called the Northern Sea route. If that opens up, it sort of reduces the traffic time between Asia and Europe by almost a third. And well, what is unsaid is that you may require a different skill set as seafarers to negotiate those waters, because there are different kinds of waters. And as a country which produces about 14 to 15% of global seafarers, we would be very interested in following that change very closely. The professional skills required by sailors, captains, the kind of ships which will be deployed increasingly on that route. And that's where our partnership with our friends in the Nordic Baltics, also the fact that we are part of the Arctic Council in the sense of observer, not as members, we are invested in it. And we also believe that through our close cooperation with the Nordics and Baltics, particularly the Nordics in this case, we give them a sense that there is a big player like India which sees the Arctic in the same light as they do.
Now, closing remarks briefly to all ambassadors, starting again with the Denmark ambassador. Sir, your idea of relationship with India, any personal experiences, anecdotes you would like to share with our viewers and rest of the ambassadors and secretary, sir?
Oh, there are so many experiences, I would say. You need to have a passion for India, and I think diplomats are often forgetting that Delhi is not India and India is not Delhi. So a lot of experiences from crisscrossing India, getting into the culture, decode the culture, understand India, and that is really needed also for really understanding why India is moving in the way India is moving. And that calls for deep knowledge. And so get out of the studio, get out meeting with real people, interact with these people. So the best experience I've had is today. Why? Because we sit here, we discuss freely based on the same values. We have a take on what should be really the world of tomorrow, and we have a value-based kind of relationship. We don't have a geopolitical hidden agenda as such. So I think this is the most trusted, genuine relationship that we have. And don't embark into what I call day trading diplomacy. That will not help us, and that's not serving the cause what we are looking into. So keep the track, be happy. India, that's Bharat. Dhanyavad.
Similar question to the ambassador of Finland. And you played Diwali. Are you part of Diwali celebrations?
Yes, certainly. We celebrated that at the embassy as well. And then I was fascinated to watch what was happening around. So really a nice experience for us, because this is really the first Diwali that we have been able to enjoy here. But as the Danish ambassador said, I think really India is a fascinating country with its diversity and huge potential, the young population, and the scientific and industrial knowledge, the companies becoming global, and overall, let's say the the need to share the common challenges that we have in the world and find solutions together for global warming and other environmental issues. So this is something that we see that is both absolutely necessary, but also I think a very, let's say, good road to take together.
Ma'am, your remarks, the Ambassador of Estonia, how do you see the India experience? It's a country which will be always an exciting country to be, never a boring country. Most ambassadors tell me this.
I'm still very excited because I haven't been to the country 3 months yet, so it's the 3rd month running. And I was just able to make my first trip was outside of Delhi. I went to Jaisalmer a couple of weeks ago, which was a really beautiful experience. I'm planning to travel around a lot in order to see the diversity of the country. And I would like to also see that that Estonians actually learn more about India, because for Estonians, I think India has been kind of a hidden jewel. It's the knowledge has been there, but only for a very small amount of people. So I would like to see that the knowledge increases, and there will be more Estonians traveling to India, and also Indians traveling to Estonia, discovering this beautiful country.
Ma'am, your mantra, the DCM of Norway, anything about India, more Norwegian people coming to India, any plans, or more Indians traveling to Norway, given that Indians are now going abroad in a very large way?
Yes, we would really love more Norwegians to travel to India, and we have a great relationship also with the Indian embassy in Norway, and we're trying to enhance the ties between higher education institutions, student exchange. We want the businesses also to bring their Norwegian people to India, so I think that's very important. Already we have quite a lot of Indians, and it's growing in Norway, 20,000, and they contribute in IT, in pharmaceutical. They're very welcome and very popular. Indian food is very popular. We need more Norwegians to come to India. I have loved coming to India, and especially the meeting with the people. The warmth and the generosity has really made this fantastic posting.
So your remarks, the DCM of Sweden, how do you see India, people of India, your experiences?
I take great pleasure in exploring India in all its parts. I've been here for 14 months, and I believe I've managed to visit 14 states by now, so quite active traveler. Most of these visits have been business trips, but I always try to include cultural elements to my program. Wherever I go, and it has proved possible. Sometimes we travel together with my Norwegian colleague. We've been to Sikkim together by invitation of CII, by the way, and also most recently to Uttar Pradesh. Yeah. So this is something I intend to continue. We would like to encourage, of course, traveling in both directions. We also have Nordic cooperation with regard to promoting our countries as tourist destinations for Indian tourists. And actually next week we'll feature a major tourism event in New Delhi, in Mumbai, and in Chennai. It is Denmark, Sweden, and Norway cooperating on this very occasion. So it's a lovely country to discover. Our countries and India in particular. Thank you.
Your experience is well known, the holy experience, but any other experience you would like to talk about the DCM of Latvia?
Siddhant, even before I came to India, I assumed that to understand India would take more than one lifetime, and being here underlines that. Even if I were tempted to stay in Delhi and think that I'm understanding, my wife is constantly saying, let's go to the Ellora Caves, let's go find Bollywood. So I think that whatever time I have left in India, it's going to be very busy. Let me just end by saying Saturday was very special in Ayodhya. and I don't know what Yogi, the chief minister, said to the enormous amount of people with the 2 million dias in the distance. But as we were going out on the buses, there were hundreds, thousands of people waving at us. And I saw on their faces, please come back soon.
And to the DCM of Iceland, how do you see the India experience?
We Icelandic people are very into literature, and I have been digging myself through books, many books a week on Indian culture. I try to share the information with my colleagues. And also I am fascinated to see how Indians are into Icelandic literature, especially Viking sagas, and also the TV shows on Vikings.
So a lot of things which both sides can learn from each other. So the last remark goes to the DCM of Lithuania, and perhaps you can talk about the Sanskrit connect in your country, something that is very fascinating. I believe there's a village which has similar language with Sanskrit. If you can elaborate on that as well.
Right, so we are really proud of this linguistic connectivity with India, since our languages, the Lithuanian language and Sanskrit, they have lots in common. Lithuanian language is considered as the oldest living language from rooted from Sanskrit. So therefore we are trying to showcase this cultural roots.
Thank you everyone for coming here at the WION headquarters ahead of that conclave that CII will be hosting on the Nordics and the Baltics. And this is a relationship that is bound to grow given the enthusiasm on both the sides. Thank you so much.